It's time for episode 49 of The Crisis Show here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Welcome. Today is August 7th, 2013, and I'm glad to be with you. My name is Rich Klein. I'm president of Rich Klein Crisis Management and founder and host of The Crisis Show, now seen in more than 113 countries. What I'd like to talk to you about during this episode is a problem that I've seen among many companies and organizations over the many years I've been in crisis management, and that is the inability or the failure to issue a public statement when a crisis first hits. Sometimes it's because a CEO or an executive or an attorney says, hey, wait, you have to wait till you have all your facts before you could put out any statement. And I get that, but the thing is today, that is not an acceptable stance. You must put out some kind of what we call holding statements in the first hour of that crisis, because social media and the major media, they operate so fast today, and the court of public opinion expects a statement from a leader when there's a serious crisis situation. You simply don't have the luxury to wait for all the facts to come in. That doesn't mean you're irresponsible, though. What you can do is in the early stages of a crisis, you put out very basic information about the incident. Maybe you have the fact that there was an accident, it happened at a certain time, and you're still assessing the injuries. That's good enough. It's called a holding statement because it puts you in a holding pattern to buy you some time until more facts come in and when you're more prepared to deliver a more comprehensive statement, either online or in person. So make sure that when there's a crisis situation, you at the very least put out a holding statement that gets you through the first hour or so of that crisis situation. Let me now give you a real-world example of this paralysis when a crisis hits. Just a few weeks ago, at an upstate New York sleepaway camp, there was an incident in which two boys, I think they were about 10 years old, got into a fist fight. Now, by the way, I spent most of my summers at sleepaway camps, so I know that boys fight at camp, there are these situations that happen. But this was particularly tragic because these two boys got seriously injured, and one of the boys, in fact, hit his head on the pavement and had to be airlifted to a hospital some 50 or 60 miles away. The other boy also suffered some injuries and went to the hospital. Now, I only know this because it appeared in the daily newspaper in this part of upstate New York called the Times-Herald-Record. But in that story, there was no statement at all from the camp owners about what happened, not even an expression of, hey, we hope for these boys to be on the road to a speedy recovery. That's the bare minimum of expectation in the minds of the public when there's a tragedy like this. And so what troubled me is that when I went to this camp's Facebook page, the impression is that life goes on and there's no mention at all about the incident. Now, maybe they thought they were protecting the innocence of the children at the camp, but hey, these kids know what's going on. They saw the incident. They're probably curious about the condition of their friends, of these two campers. So here we are more than 3 weeks after this tragic incident, and nothing has been issued by the camp either on its social media channels or by way of a statement that reached the media. Now, let me tell you something. This is a newspaper that certainly would have printed a statement if the camp issued one. I can assure you of that. Now, I'm confident that had this camp issued some kind of very basic holding statement that at least acknowledged there was an incident and that expressed concern for the injuries to these two boys, that statement would have gotten published in the major daily newspaper in the area, the Times-Herald-Record. Unfortunately, either internally or by an external consultant or an attorney, this camp has gone silent. Now, as somebody who went to sleepaway camp for many years, and I know this industry, I can tell you that it's a huge mistake to ignore a situation like this, to pretend that nothing happened. What does that do? Well, during the winter months when parents look for a sleepaway camp anywhere in the country for their kids, and let's say they're looking at this particular camp, what's going to show up in the Google search results? What's going to show up is a media story about two boys who got into a fist fight, the assumption being they were unsupervised because there was no defense at all from the camp. And the assumption that, hey, this is a camp that can protect its campers. So let's wrap up with some tips and review some of the things we just spoke about. Number one, do not get caught like a deer in headlights when a crisis hits. And make sure you issue a statement within the first hour of that crisis. If you can do it in 30 minutes, even better. Number two, throughout the year, make a fluid list of all the crisis situations that your organization could face. For example, if you know that a lawsuit is possible, then plan ahead and have a holding statement prepared that you can issue quickly in the event that lawsuit gets filed. Number three, always express sympathy and concern when people are injured. There are many different kinds of crisis situations, but the ones that involve people's health and safety, those are the ones that where you really have to rush out a statement, even if it's very basic. Number four, every organization should have a Twitter account and a Facebook page. Let me say that again. Every organization should have a Twitter account and a Facebook page, even if you don't use them regularly. Now, why is that? That's because when a crisis hits, people look for you on Facebook and Twitter, A, to find out what happened, and B, to find out what you're saying about what happened. They're not going to go to your website. And those of you who have a website, most of you wouldn't even be able to put that information up quickly where it could be easily found. The other thing is people probably don't even know your domain address. So use Facebook and use Twitter during a crisis situation to get information out quickly and to update people in the first few hours and the first few days, if need be, in a crisis situation. Number five, always think of people first whenever talking about a crisis situation. So if you're putting out a statement about, let's say, a fire that happened in your office and there were injuries, you don't want to start out a statement by saying we're back in business as usual and we're taking calls again at 3 o'clock. The first thing you have to do in that statement, whenever people are injured, is get your expressions of sympathy, of concern, of condolences right up at the top. Because your first thoughts are always with your employers, with your customers, with the public. Everything else is secondary, and that is what the court of public opinion expects from you when a crisis hits. So really important when putting out a statement, it's got to be about the people first, those who are in harm's way, those who are injured, and maybe later in the day, later in the week, even later in the month, depending on the severity of the crisis, you can then begin to talk about how you're handling successfully the resumption of your business. So if you want to tweet about anything you heard tonight on the show, please use hashtag #TheCrisisShow or @TheCrisisShow, and let me know what you think. You could also leave comments at the bottom of this video or on the Google Plus page where you're watching this. Again, thank you for watching. Give me your feedback, and we'll see you soon. Oh, and by the way, just want to plug an upcoming episode of The Crisis Show on Wednesday, August 21st. My colleague and friend, Dr. Karen Freeberg of the University of Louisville, is going to be hosting the show, a very special back-to-school episode. And this is the second year we'll be doing this. Karen is wonderful on air. She really knows the issues, and she's going to be hosting that show. That's, again, the back-to-school episode, Wednesday, August 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So until then, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back with you on August 21st with our back-to-school episode. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.